All right, everybody, welcome. My name is Douglas. I run a AI automations agency called Razor.co, and that's Raizor. Do you see what we did there? And so we just are really passionate about saving our clients time, boosting revenue, getting people out of like the boring day-to-day monotonous tasks that they do such that they can be freed up to do more high-value things. And so it's really cool, what we do, and I just want to give you this little framework just to get you starting to think about how these tools can be leveraged. So a lot of people come to us and they're like stressed about AI. They're like, oh, our competitors are beginning to use it. We don't know where to start. And so I always say, look, the first step of integrating AI into your workflows is a mindfulness practice. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the first step is just stop thinking about AI. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, here's the thing. You need to get out of the stress of the day to day and you're just the grind, at least for enough time so that you can start to map out your workflows. And if you can do that in a series of linear steps, just like if you were going to teach an assistant of something you want them to do for you, you need to have an SOP, a standard operating procedure. If you run a business, you need to have this. So it's very similar when it comes to working with technology. If you can put your workflows into a series of linear steps, you can begin to think about, well, if I can teach someone to do that, it's very likely I can teach AI to do that, or a good portion of it. Okay, and so you can use stickies on or a blackboard, or you can use Post-its, or you can use something like Miro or FigJam to start to map these things out. And if you ever want to talk about what's actually possible, because ultimately some things are going to be hard to automate. And what's right for automation is not these one-off times that are complicated, but they require a lot of human ingenuity. Like, that's not a good use case. Good use case for automation is something that happens regularly. It's very linear in terms of like it's step-based. Doesn't require a whole bunch of creativity on the human side. If it does, you need to break it into steps where there's the human touch points. But so something that's like happens a bunch, you really don't like doing, takes a lot of time, those sorts of things are great ways to identify what good automations can be used for. Okay, so that said, I'm going to share my screen. And by the way, if you ever have questions about automation things, I'm always happy to chat. You'll have all my contact info after this. And so with Razor, we work on and I'll tell you more about it, but we either just help companies understand the landscape of what maybe their competitors are doing, what they could begin to think about. Sometimes they come to us with a very specific series of tasks that are a pain. Other times they need a little bit of help. They're like, we don't know where to start. And that's where we can go in. And again, we have like this evaluation process, which is just a more fancy version of what I just said to you, which is very much like, all right, great. Where's the pain point? Narrow down to it, start to like put it into steps, and let's see what we can automate. And so that's really the basics. And so the tool that I'm gonna be sharing with you today, make.com, is a great tool to get started with that. So let me share my screen. Okay, so look, what's really cool about ChatGPT, obviously, is one of the things is that you now can create images right inside ChatGPT for free. Okay, so you've been able to do that on the paid plan forever, but the free plan was limited. Now you can at least do some. So you can say create an image of a rabbit in a spaceship flying through the sky. Okay, so you can come up with an idea like that. Now, the thing about this is twofold. One, on the free plan, you only get, I think, like 2 or 3 images in a row, and then they want you to sign up for a plan. And the reality is with AI images, it often does take back and forth. Another thing is, it's cute and everything like that, but I know there's a whole lot more that I could do. Like, what if I want it to be different ratio? What if I want it to be different effects? Things like that. So you can actually find, and what I'm going to do is I've got this form that I created for myself, but the reason I'm going to bring it up is because there's a link on there that I want to share with you. Somebody else did this, but I think it's so cool that I'm going to share this link. This is a DALL-E 2, but it doesn't matter. Now we're on DALL-E 3, I think, a prompt book. It's a huge presentation, but it goes through the basics of AI imagery. But where it starts to get really cool is where it starts to tell you about things like styles, use of certain words, this kind of stuff, ways you can play it with like types of photography framing. So Teddy's a photographer, so he knows a lot of this already. Photographers are going to be better with these image creators because they're going to be able to often say very precisely what it is they want. like us as non-photographers, we might not even know these terms like, medium shot or close up, whatever those are, let alone things like, tilted frame, or all these types of settings on a camera. Very cool that actually with these AI tools, you can get as detailed as talking about shutter speeds and depth of field and even lenses. So this is a really powerful PDF that I'm just going to share in the chat because I think it would be valuable. When I change my screen over, can you see me? Can you see like my zoom window now? Or do you still see just the screen? Hopefully you just see the screen. Okay, here's a cool...
Yeah, pitch.com.
Okay, great. So here's the image doc to check out. So this is very exhaustive. I'm not going to like get more into it now, but if you want to really read about AI imagery, it's a really cool thing to check out. So I'm going to close these. So we've talked about now ChatGPT. You can play around in there. You're limited by your amount of credits. And so I don't even pay for a ChatGPT subscription anymore because I use what's called the API. And so this API is different. You don't need to pay for the tool. You need to go to openai.com. And then you go to products and API login. And so this is the first step that we're going to have to do. So we can just open that up. And I know it's a little bit complicated, but don't worry about it. We're going to come back to it in a second, and then we're going to get the things that we need from there. The other tool that we're going to pull up, because basically what we're going to do is take a form that looks like this, and you'll see why this is neat. One, it's going to not need a ChatGPT subscription. Instead, it uses the API, which we'll set up. I'll show you how to set up in a second. And it's, I don't know, 10 cents an image or whatever. My entire agency runs hundreds, if not thousands, of AI operations with ChatGPT, with OpenAI actually's API every month. I think our last month was $16. So that's like incredible. That was hundreds of, I don't know, hundreds, but at least 100 plus images. We usually have at least 4 a day. So yeah, over 100 images, plenty of text prompts. So you can get pretty far without even having to pay that subscription, which is neat. All right, so look at this though. This form that we've created is an email where we want to receive the image, the resulting image, a description of the scene, the image ratio, and this is a square image. This is a rectangular image, and this is a vertical image. And this is where it gets cool. These are additional settings. We can include or not include text. We can put image styles, any styles that we might want to use, or our own descriptions of styles if we use them regularly. If it's not there and we want to use a custom one, we can have another style field. And again, like I showed you that document, which by the way, I used to create this form, a bunch of inspiration from this document. And this document's not final. This could be different for you. Extreme close-up, all those framings, and even camera and settings. And so we're going to play with that in a little bit. But first, we're going to build this form, okay? And then basically, it's such a simple automation, so don't be worried. The most complicated thing that we're going to need to do is set up the API, but it's not even that complicated. So let's get started with Jotform, okay? So Jotform is a free account that you're going to need, so you can sign up for that right now. And once you're in there, it looks like this. Let's go back to the home. Once you're in there, you'll be able to create a new form, okay? And when you create a new form, it's going to pop open an editor. I've already created this one, so I'm just going to open this. If you've already created one, you can just click on Edit Form. And then we're going to just recreate this. So all you need to do is it'll give you a blank thing. You don't have to put a logo or anything. Just put a title of the form up here. And then from here, with these add elements, you do these things. You just drag this over like that. And, email address. And the next one you do will be the description of the scene. And then this is the important part. The ratios here that you need. And what I'll do is I'll copy these ratios just like this, what I'll do, into the chat, because you need these to be exact. Everything else is a little flexible. That part is important, just like that. So what I'm going to do is put the image here. And I'm going to upload that. So those are important sizes that you need to be exactly correct. And so if you'll notice, this is a short box, that was email. This is a longer paragraph, and that is long text. So just drag long text over there for that. This is so easy. Most of you have created forms before, but if not, it's so easy. This is a multiple choice. So here that's called, or a single choice, I guess, not multiple choice. Multiple choice is check boxes. So here, that's how you do that one, and then you put the numbers in there that I put in the chat. And then these are also a single choice, and you just drag it over. And so, I'll just copy this. Literally, you can just make another single choice, boom, and then you can just literally put those in. I'm putting that all in the chat. Then you got your image styles that you can choose. And I'll just give you a few. I'll just literally copy and paste a few more into the chat here, just so you have something to work with. But these could be anything you want, right? Does anybody have a fun idea for a style, Teddy? Maybe you've got something fun that we could add to this and do as a test. Let me know if you think of anything.
I mean, right now, style-wise, I want as realistic as possible. But let's go steampunk. No, cyberpunk. That's exactly what I want right now.
Okay, cool. Let's add both cyberpunk, and then we're gonna do both. So cyberpunk. Any more descriptors for
cinematic? I wonder. For me, I want it. There's cartoon stuff, but I like making it look like as real as possible.
Yeah. Well, what I might even go up here is be like, how would you describe cyberpunk style for an AI image generator? Let's just see what happens, and if it adds something cool. And what I'm gonna do is stop this and just be like, give it to me in one concise sentence. And I might have just taken all right, so cool, look at that. So now we can take something like this, and we could either add that to our, and I'll just paste it into the text box because it's kind of fun. So we could take that, and if we wanted to, we could add that right in here, and have it just be maybe take out a little bit of neon lit, rain soaked, futuristic cityscape. I'm gonna take out at night. Well, maybe at night's good with towering skyscrapers and gritty alleyways. But okay, cool. We literally just copied that in there. By the way, we could also have pasted it into this other style. Other style is when we don't have one in our form, but we want to try a new one. So that's another place that we could put it. Okay, so then in the framing, again, single, these are just extreme close-up. I'll take a little screenshot of this so those who are lagging behind can put this in here. And these are all just totally optional, just because we're about to get onto the automation, and so I want to at least have you be able to reference something. Okay, so check it out. And then these camera settings, we could just say, I could give you a couple, just to play with. So for camera settings, a macro lens, but whatever, you can do research and we could put those sorts of things in as we go. All right, guys, so look, once we have got that, we can now publish it. We've got our form, and we're gonna open it up in a new tab, and let's see, here it all is with my new cyberpunk thing. And so this form is ready to go. All right, so now we're gonna get into make.com. And for those that didn't do my workshop last month, which I will give you access to if you didn't find the link that I entered earlier in the chat, it's this amazing tool that connects things in modules. Now, this can get incredibly complicated. Just for fun, I can show you what some of our scenarios look like that we've built, for example, every day, and you guys will now be on our daily newsletter, which you can change to weekly if you want, or unsubscribe all completely. But point being that it's 100% automated. It looks into my email every morning, it scans industry newsletters, it pulls out articles, it compares it to articles we already talked about earlier in the week, it writes it with Claude, it gets prompts, it gets intros and outros, it cleans it up in OpenAI's because I liked it in there, it cleans up more things, it creates a podcast with my cloned voice, it then goes down this branch where it publishes the podcast to all the publishing podcast platforms. And then it creates a newsletter for today. It creates a WordPress blog post of today's news. And every Friday it goes down this branch and it creates a Friday newsletter for those that just want to get it weekly. So that's the kind of thing that you can build. Like, this is just like one of our crazy automations, but there's so many different types of things that we do, which I'll tell you more about at the end of the call. But look at this. In our case, this is all we're going to build, okay? So let's go into make.com. And so what's cool,
less intimidating.
yeah, exactly. So I wanted to show, but it's also powerful and it will give you the basics. And the meeting summarizer workshop that I did last month is maybe 6 modules, but it really is quite powerful and can give you a lot of ideas. Okay, so what is this? This tool basically connects systems. It's like Zapier, if you're familiar with Zapier. It's been around for forever, but what's really cool about it is now with AI modules, the extendability, the functionality of these tools has exploded. Okay, but where do you even get started? The cool thing is, if you want to know how you might be able to connect tools, you can go directly in here and start to look for tools. Like, say, for example, if someone signs up on a form like a job form that's embedded in your website, you might want to put, so okay, here's job form, how nice, like we're going to be using that today. But you can start to go and explore and be like, okay, what are the triggers? Triggers what starts the action. This is a trigger, and this trigger can be time-based, like once a day this automation can fire. It can be manual if you want to fire it manually. It can even be, or it can just be, in this case, when as soon as a job form is filled out, it triggers it, and that's an instant one. So that's what this is. It's watching for submissions. Okay, and so, and then you can also see all sorts of cool actions that it can do. But basically, once a trigger has happened, you can see like, oh, how could I connect this with, like, I don't know, Gmail? Like maybe that's like okay, like this could, when a submission happens, I get an email, right? So you can start to see neat ways you can connect these things. And sometimes it even gives you at the bottom popular job form workflows. And these are little templates that you can get started. From my experience, these are all very basic. There's like relatively little that like more than just a couple, but still pretty cool. Like I haven't looked at something like OpenAI before here. I do all my own custom stuff, but look, let's find out what this has got. So many things. We're going to be using this today for imagery, but maybe there's some really cool things down here. Look at this, automate posting from blog to social media with ChatGPT. That's got a whole bunch more. So there's probably some pretty neat things you could explore here. So that's make.com. So when you get started, let's just go into the home. You're going to find, once you have a free account, because you can do a free account for this workshop, once you start to do more advanced things or have more forms, you will need to get a paid job form. I think you have 5 forms. Or once you have, there's a few things, once you have too many operations, which every module is an operation or a huge amount of data transfer. But to give you an idea, my agency, at least for this tool, is very inexpensive every month. I think it's like $10. We have a whole bunch of other subscriptions that we need to pay for, but make.com is one of the most generous, wonderful like applications out there in terms of its cost. So you probably won't have anything in here, so you'll just create a new scenario. And when you create a new scenario, in fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll just work out of mine, but I'll build it again. But you just create a new scenario, and I'm gonna go to Dolly. Let's find out where, this is just a kind of, okay, here's my simple one. All right, so let's just talk about the interface of make.com real quick. We don't need to go into it too deeply, but a couple of things is what you'll need is here's where you get back to your scenarios. Templates don't need to worry about. Connections is once in a while a connection will be dropped. You might need to reconnect, but it rarely happens. But it's important to know. And the rest of this stuff is not too necessary, so don't even worry about it too much right now. Once you're in here, if you have already created it, you need to click it one more time to go in here. And so here we are, and you can do a couple of things, like you can, with 2 fingers on your mouse pad, you can zoom in and out, which is nice. You can right click with, or control click or double tap, and that gives you options, or I guess it's like, yeah. So there you go, there's some options. And it will give you probably get started with a first module. And the first module that you're going to choose is job form. And so what you're going to do is have this job form, and you're going to say, when you create it, add module, when I click on job, so when I click on this little plus button, it brings up the menu. I can click on job form, and watch for submissions. And then it's going to say choose a hook. And what you're going to want to do is name it. So name it something like, my Dolly image creator, something like that. And then you'll need to create a connection. And the way you do that is by creating, and you can leave this as my job form connection. The only time you want to like start to rename these is if you're doing like agency work and you have multiple people with job forms. You can do that. I mean, there's even better ways to do that. Like you actually create a different organization for different clients. But even just basically, if you have multiple accounts, you want to make sure that you label these, even for you, if you have multiple, say, Google Workspace accounts, make sure you differentiate a little bit. But it's going to want you to find this API key, okay? So we've created the form. That's great. But now we need to connect it. So once you're done with the form and you press publish and you've opened it in a new tab, it's ready to go, but not quite yet. The next step is you need to connect it to the system at make.com. And the way you do that is you go over here to your little fuzzy friend and you go to settings, go to API, and then you can create a new key. And then you copy this number that you get. So you create a new key and you also want to make it full access. Okay? So I don't need that one anymore. But so you create a key, make it full access, copy the number, bring it over to make.com, put in your API key. It will then connect it, and you can press save, and it will have created a webhook for you. So that's the first thing, okay? Once that's ready, you're ready to start the first test. And so what that means is a couple of things. First of all, you'll have one little module, just save it, and then you will turn on this option of immediately as data arrives, okay? Because then what you can do is test the system. So once it's actually on, you'll only have, so once you've saved it, when you click this little button, save, this menu down here is, most of these things you don't need to worry about. Save is obviously important. This, you can drag these all around, which is neat as you like grow these things and you like, but then if it gets really messy, you can press auto align, this little one here. So that's useful. This is previous versions, which is useful in case you mess something up. You can also export the blueprint. This is called a blueprint or a scenario, but you can export it, which is nice in case you want to make some changes and not mess things up. You can then import it again. Okay, so I am going to just unlink this. I'm just going to pretend I haven't done these parts yet. Okay, great. So save it, and now it's immediately active as data arrives. But before I even do that, what I want to do is get the, actually, we can do that. So let's just go back like that. And now you saw I saved it, and I've got this little menu on the side here. Now let's enter something. I'll just do a quick test with my email. And just, we're only just going to use this for testing. I'm just going to fill out all the forms just to test. The first time you do it, you always need to sort of test. And we'll just go like this, test. All right, and so look at this, submit. And now, boom, there it goes. So check it out. And the reason that that's cool, we disconnected it, is now when you click on this, you can actually see all the things that came in, which is so neat. So in our terms, that's not it. It's down here, I think, request. And here are all the data points. It comes with a lot of stuff, but look, this is the stuff that we're going to need to be able to use. Add the description of the scene, image size and ratio, include text, etc. So it's all in there. All right, great. And so now what we're going to do is, this is where it starts to get fun. You can click on this module, add a module, and it pulls up another one. And this is where all your different modules are, which is super cool. And we're going to go into, if you don't see it up there, you can just start typing OpenAI and then show more if you can't see it. And these are all the things you can do with OpenAI's API, which we're going to make sure to connect in a second. So the one that I use the most is create a completion. You'd think it was message and assistant, but actually when you're doing text-based stuff, it's create a completion. I explained that a lot in my last workshop. Again, I'll send that link out to everybody who's attending this one. But we're going to be using the generate an image. Okay, cool. Now you guys are going to need to create a connection here. So what it's going to look like is, okay, here's my OpenAI connection. You need to get the API key and the organization ID. So let's go find them. We've gone to, if you remember, not that, but in here we went to, OpenAI, just to make sure that you remember in case you're joining late, openai.com, products, API login, and once I click that, API login, there we go. Here it is. And so what we want to do is, I should be logged in already, but maybe I'm not. I guess I was logged out. Hold on one second. Okay. So once I'm logged in, it looks like this. You will need to, first of all, go to, I believe, your settings and billing. And this is where you'll need to add a little bit of credit. So it's pretty simple. So I went to the little gear and then billing. I think you can add $5 at a time. When your credit balance reaches $5, your payment will be charged another $5. And you can change those kind of options. But so that's the first thing that you're going to need. The second thing is you're going to need is an API key. And that's to create a new secret key. You create that, and I'm just going to show you just an example. And select project. I think that you don't even really necessarily need that. And we create that secret key. And that is your key. Okay, and so I don't know if you can see this. Usually make sure you copy it, because I don't know if you can see it again. Yeah, I don't think you can see it once you've made it once. So I like to copy and paste it into like a text document. Okay, so that's going to be the API key. So we can go back here, and that's where you enter your API key. And then the organization ID is in another place, of course. I think we go back to organization. And, I think it's actually, is it under billing? No, API key. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just go settings again. Okay, so there it is. Click on the gear, and here's your organization ID. So you copy that. That, I promise everybody, is the hardest part of this whole, this whole thing. This was obviously an interface built by engineers, very hard to get to, but those are the places. Again, it's just the gear, and then in general you can get the organization ID, and then you create your own one. Make sure you copy and paste that. You generally won't ever need that again, so once it's working you can probably delete the thing. So once you've added those, you'll see that you now have your connection. Great, we can start to generate this image. We're going to be using DALL-E 3, which is the latest, and here's the prompt, okay? And we're going to also want to show the advanced settings. All right, so this is where it starts to get interesting. And I'm going to show you the way this works. This could just be as simple as, create, you could put the prompt in here, right? Anything you want manually, but we're going to use data that was sent from Jotform, okay? So let's find out exactly how we're going to frame this. And I put a little work into this already. So you guys can, I'm going to say connect automatically for now. I put a little work into this prompt. All right, and so you're going to be like, okay, wait, this is a lot, but don't worry about it. And I can actually copy and paste this entire prompt over to you guys in the chat. It's going to look a little bit broken, but the main copy will be there. When you copy and paste this into the prompt, your boxes, these orange boxes, they'll look probably empty because you need to connect it to your, it actually might, you know what, it might be this, it might work if you've done it exactly as I have, but the likeliness is you'll need to reconnect these things. So how do you do that? Well, let me see if I can just go like to a fresh one. And so, I can't, this is kind of purposeless. Delete this module. Okay, so when we're in here, what's happening here? Let's read through it. Make an image inspired by the following scene. And then I put a colon, quotation marks, and then this is where the cool thing happens. So another box is popping up whenever I click in here. And what is this box on the right-hand side? This is all of the data in any previous module that happened. In this case, it's only one module. But if this was like the 10th module, there would be 9 modules in this list, okay? in this case, it's just this last one. So it's especially easy. We can come down here and you'll delete that probably. If I think it probably should, because I don't think it's going to map correctly. Once this is run though, you'll see, look, here it is. Add the description of the scene. Boom. So that's now going to take whatever we put in the job form there. And then here's where, and this is why it was nice for me to copy and paste it, even if you have to change these orange things, because this is the text. Here are some other parameters. Oh, that's not right. In instructions, I misspelt it. Doesn't matter usually, but might as well just correct it. Here's some other parameters and instructions, and I'm gonna even maybe improve this to reference when you create the image. So I'm always tweaking these things. So I sent you one, and then you can refine it. And this is This is actually an art form. So a lot of people say AI is not art. Honestly, the prompting is an art form. So I would definitely say this is a nice thing to massage. Here I'm going to say don't include a border, make the image extend right to the edges of the frame. That is just a text prompt that's always going to be the same. Okay, so what's the next? The next is request is include text. And so include text is literally, it's just taking the sentence here, include text in the image. I don't even need to put anything else. I'm just literally putting include, whether it says include text in the image or don't include text in the image. If you remember, the job form looked like this. So the actual option itself is the instruction, if that makes sense. So all you need to do is put that there. So then here I have another dash. This is kind of like text bullets. So it's just like these are the instructions. Another text dash. Style, colon, and then this is the style. Okay, and I'll put a period after that so it just makes sure that it knows. And there's the image style. So literally all I need to do, if this wasn't here, I just say click image style. There it is. And then what I also did here was right next to it, I did the other style, because the other style was, I can close that. The other style was a text box. In case you don't have one of these, you can put another style in there. And so basically under style, I just have the image style and then other style. I have it like right next to each other. Framing, so dash framing colon, and then look, here's the framing option. You can click right on there and it will pop up right here. Camera lens and settings is right here. Camera settings and lenses. Okay, and I can actually make that say the same thing. Camera settings and lenses. Okay. All right, so we've done that. That is the prompt. Now, we've got, this is an interesting thing. Yours will say this will be like, you can select one of these options. And this is why it's important, because then this would always be square, and this would always be rectangle, and this would always be vertical rectangle. So what actually we want to do is map. And mapping is, instead of doing whatever the built-in option is, mapping is using these little tokens and other things that you might want to use. And in this case, do you remember that we had the exact numbers here? So this is how it has to be. I put it in the chat. They have to be this exact numbers or they won't work. So I'm gonna paste that in the chat one more time in case you were late to join. Where's my little chat box? These numbers are critical. So here they are again. So those exact numbers can be now put into our automation here by mapping it. And here it is. Image size and ratio. If you notice, it says 1024 because that's what it pulled in. So that's going to be that. Image quality standard, totally fine. It's more expensive if you want to do HD, but you can do that. Style, vivid, that's interesting. Natural, I generally just leave it at vivid. Okay, and then the other thing is sometimes I think the default is URL. Now, that's okay, but the thing is with OpenAI's image URLs is they expire after like 20 minutes or something. So if you get the email 20 minutes later or you check it the next day, it won't work. So you want to actually do image file. It's a little more complicated, but I'll show you how to work with it in a second. All right, guys, so we've got it. We have got it. And by the way, at any point, you could test things by right-clicking on them. This wouldn't really work I mean, it would work if you ran this module only. You would have to put in all these things, but then it would just include, because we're not doing a URL, we're doing a I mean, we could do a URL just for fun to test it, so I can show you what testing looks like. Why don't we just do an image URL? And then I'm going to say run this module only. And then say description, we're going to say like, cyber dog, or just like big dog, big rabid dog. How about that? Include the text. Don't include text. We got to type. Basically, the reason it's asking for these things is because we've included these variables in here, and since it doesn't have them, when we run it manually, we need to test it with test things. So image style, let's do like that cyberpunk. I'm gonna say gritty cyberpunk. Okay. Other style, let's not worry about. Or maybe we could put other style in here and be like super, neon, vivid, super vivid neon, super bright neon. Okay, framing is we can leave these actually as optional, I think. Image size and ratio, we do need something. So 1024 times 1024. I think that should work. I've never tried this before, guys, so we're gonna just see what happens. All right, so here we go. We are running this manually. What's nice is that instead of running this whole scenario, we're just testing one module at a time. And so that can be really useful. So great, here it goes, data collection, and here's the URL. So let's take a look at how it turned out. So here's the cyberpunk rabid dog. Looks more like a werewolf, but it's square and it got the style. Okay, so that's cool. We did a little test. And now what we can do is connect it correctly, because what we're going to do is change this to image file, because we want to send it as an attachment as email. All right, everybody. Now, what is this thing here, break? Well, it confused me for a long time, because when I thought of break, I thought it was like break the scenario. Obviously, that's ridiculous. It actually means to take a break. And why do you want this? And what does this even mean? Well, look, certain things like Jotform or email, they're pretty darn reliable. They're never going to have an issue. But something like AI is a little bit, those servers get overrun, that sometimes like the connection just times out for a second. And if that happens, Make will turn your scenario off, send you an error message. However, there's something that you can do to help out, and that's add a break. But before you add a break, this is one place where you'll need to use these scenario settings at the bottom, this little grid or this little gear. And that is the allow storing of incomplete executions. You need to turn it from off or no to yes. Once you've done that, you can right click on this module and say add an error handler. Now I'm not going to get into error handlers, there's a whole bunch, but the one in this case that is useful is break. And so break, how many times, like this is, keep it on yes, you're going to try to automatically complete the execution. Number of attempts and interval between attempts. Sometimes I'll just put 5 minutes, okay? And that means that if this for some reason doesn't do its thing, then it will try 3 times with a break of 5 minutes to do it. But it won't do this if it works. Generally it works, and so it will go down this path. And then what you'll do is, this won't be like this for you, you'll just add another module and click on email. Okay, so now this is something that you need to figure out on your own. But it's basically going to send an email. So when you go email, send an email, it wants you to have an email account, okay, that you connect. You can do this one of a few ways. When you press add, if you've got a Google workspace, it's super easy. If you've got a Microsoft Office 365, it's super easy. For everybody else, others, email providers, maybe one of these will be kind of easy for you if you have one of those. But most people who have SMTP, that's something you need to get from your hosting. It generally looks like something like, your email, and then this is optional, but whatever, your full name. This is something sometimes like mail.razor.co, or sometimes it's SMTP. So this is usually 465, sometimes it's 567. These are the options your hosting provider will give you. And then this is usually, again, your email and your password. So that is something I'm not going to troubleshoot with you guys right now because you got to figure it out on your own. Super easy. If you have a Google Workspace, you literally just press add and click a couple of buttons, and then it will connect. But so that is how you set up an email. Did I mess this one? Okay, so this was the one in my test. I'm just going to reconnect this one. Okay, so I have already got my email connected. I used SMTP, but I could have used my also my Gmail Google Workspace. All right, so now what we have here, look at this. And this is all sort of optional. And in fact, you can copy and paste it from over here. You can just take this whole thing and because you've done all that work and I just copied it. And you could, here obviously, where do you want to receive the email? You go and find the email right here and you click on that. Subject line, whatever you want. I said, here's my Dolly image. Content type. So I put this as HTML. Plain text is also fine, but it just generally is like a big old block of text. We can try it, but I think if I say plain text here, I think if I take out these BR, because this is a little bit of HTML, if I take these out, I think it's we can test it because it's easier that way. I'm not sure if line breaks here work or if this is just gonna all be a big squashed series of links and things. But we're gonna try it. We'll try that first and then I'll show you how to do HTML if that doesn't work. Okay, then here's the important thing, attachment, file. Luckily, it's pretty easy. It uses just the modules output. Instead, sometimes you need to do all this stuff with data, but instead it's just the file and that's the attachment. And that's it, everybody. That is it. We've got our scenario working. So we press save. One other thing, just best practices I'll tell you is that if you're doing a lot of these modules, it's really nice to name them. So when you right click on something like, that huge giant scenario that I showed you, it's really great to name things so you don't get lost. Like, if you have 100 modules in something. So that's just a good practice. But great, let's press save. And then I press this back button. Again, name your scenario, something that makes sense. Okay, and here we go. So let's publish it. I think this is going to work. Maybe because I changed some things, it might need to be reconnected again, but I don't think so. I think this should work. So let's open it up. So I'm going to share it I'll go to Razor, my Razor email. Add a description of the scene. Anybody want to give me a fun description of something? Otherwise, I'll come up with something silly. I'm going to say a fairy godmother cyborg superhero flying around in a city. Okay, fairy godmother cyborg superhero flying around a city. I'm just playing with it. Let's do, maybe we're gonna do something for our stories. So we want it to be a vertical rectangle. This is like 9 by 16, but vertical. I don't want any text included. And we get to choose one of these cool things. So maybe I would do like, I already had this cyberpunk down here. I didn't even realize it. Let's do biopunk, or maybe we could do isometric. Let's do impressionist, watercolor. Why don't we do steampunk? Other style, I don't think we need. Long shot, or maybe I'll just do extreme long shot. Let's see if this works. And this is an art form. Telephoto lens, macro lens, motion blur. Maybe we could add some motion blur in there. That could be cool. Let's just see what happens. So as soon as I click submit, this should, see, it's already starting to work. How cool is that, right? And then this takes a second. Now I want to also show you that we can use this for other things like creating a logo. So what would that look like? Let's take a look. While that's generating, I'm going to say again, DRZ, and I want somebody else to come up with something fun that we could do. So I'm going to say actually create a logo for, I'll use my new company, my new company, and we're going to call it, we're going to call this Angel Cakes. I've never used this with trying to create a logo before. We're just going to try it because I was thinking about it earlier. I wonder if this would work. My new company, Angel Cakes. If All right, and I'm gonna make it square. And I'm gonna say I want it to be a cupcake with angel wings, with sprinkles and angel wings coming out of it. All right, and so I'm gonna say square. I'm gonna say, oh, maybe we'll include text in the image. See if it makes angel cakes into some cool graphic. All right, and so maybe none of these really feel correct. So this time I'm gonna say super vibrant and rainbow colorful image, or like colorful other style. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then just regular shots fine. And then I don't think, maybe I should put, by the way, on something like on a white background, on a flat white background. See if that works. And then I'm just gonna not include anything of this, actually. I probably shouldn't even include anything there, but that's fine. Let's make another one. And so now it's gonna starting again, you see? Great. So now we're gonna go over to my Razor email. Oh, I think I have it open somewhere. Let's see. Not that one. Here we go. And let me put it over here. All right, so let's go to my Razor email and go into here. And here we go. Whoa, Cyborg Fairy Godmother. And look, it's got the motion blur. How cool is that, right? So I can't wait to share this with our 12-year-old. He's going to have some fun with this because he was all bummed out because my ChatGPT subscription ran out, and now he can use my my ChatGPT credits, which, you know, they're not really expensive. But look at this. It also, and by the way, it looks fine with the plain text, so that works out really nicely. This is in the future. You can, if you wanted to recreate it, it's here for you. And so that is that. And so we created this awesome little workflow today, and there's so many like potential uses for this. Again, I will share with you the last workshop, and this is the custom meeting reports. I'll send it in the follow-up email. A couple of things I just also wanted to tell you about is we have every day our newsletter, which you'll get now because you have, let's see if I can pull it up. Because you signed up for this course, you can unsubscribe at any time, obviously. But what's cool about it, and the reason I want to show it to you is, hello, Razor. Yeah, oops. Is because, I'm just pulling this up because I'm only sharing one window. So here's the one from today. Open up a new tab. Now this newsletter is completely created dynamically, like I showed you in that last module. It actually inserts my blog from yesterday. It also has a podcast on here that you can listen to that's with my cloned voice. And so here's like today's, so it mirrors the newsletter. All the news, all this imagery is I have a prompt that it uses image prompt. So like this, look at this. This is one image prompt. So it's similar. I actually just paste this entire image in there and I give it all sorts of instructions. And it automatically creates these images for my newsletter and things like that. So it's really super fun. I've got, and I'll share with you this website too, where I have Otto. He's our little agent. So he does all sorts of things like crafting blog posts and all with this tool, make.com. It's really incredible. You can start to see how you can use this for all sorts of things. So blog posts and the newsletters and podcasts, a lot of social media content. You know, for example, I have this Otto posting widget that, again, it's a form. It starts with a form. So you're starting to see a pattern here. In this case, I just embedded a form in my website. But I can put in a URL of a link, an article, I copy and paste it in. I put a post in there that I want to write myself, and then what platforms I want it to go out to. And also I can click a dolly image if I want it to create a dolly image. And look at this, it goes off. I'll just show you like Razor's blog, for example. Every day I do one of these. And I have worked very hard on creating a nice tone. So here's like this blog from today. This is all about voice AI. So here's my personal blog. Well, here's the image it creates first. Here's the personal blog. Here is the article where it talks about the technology, pros and cons, things that you could do with it as an entrepreneur, business use cases, and potential implications to consider. And that was and I highly customized this tone. So this does not sound like AI at all. It's really pretty cool. But from there, and this is the last thing I'll show you, it also goes out to, you know, my LinkedIn it creates, for example, this nice little LinkedIn version of the post. It goes to also Facebook, it goes to Twitter, where it creates like a nice little short version of the post, which I'll just show you because just to give you an idea of what's possible. This is all in that one automation from there. And then here is, oh, I think it hasn't gone out to my Twitter yet, but it did probably go out to my YouTube, which is here. And I'm testing to see how these shorts work. Yeah. So look, this is a little short video that it made.
Speed and efficiency have been hurdles. That's where Hertz Dev comes in.
So that's with my voice. It makes it automatically. So how crazy is that? So that's bringing us to the end of our session. I'm happy to stick around a little time for Q&A. I'm obviously always super happy to talk about automations and things like that. I love geeking out. If you do start to play around with make.com, there's amazing resources, obviously, on YouTube. You can get really advanced. People give away a lot of really advanced things. You just have to search for it. With that, I will say thank you to everybody. Thanks for sticking around. If you have any feedback, any questions, if you ever want to talk about automation stuff, just feel free to reach out. It's been a real pleasure, and thanks for sticking around the whole time. Bye, everybody.